Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. It is Sunday, 11:50 in the Pacific Northwest. I live in Beaverton, Oregon, and I'm really happy to be here doing a live stream with you today. I haven't done one in a while. I was really looking forward to spending a little time just chatting about life, giving you guys a small update about what's going on with me, just because I find it to be very cathartic and very calming just to share. And I think all of us can benefit from that as far as sharing, not benefit from hearing me share per se. And then I look forward to answering any questions you might have or letting you direct the conversation that we might have together as well. So this is a safe place. This is a good place. This is a positive place. This is a friendly place to talk about anything: mental health, addiction, life updates, life experiences, struggles, wins. They are all good here. So I'm going to read your names when you message, and I'm going to give you a shout out. And I just want to say thank you to anyone who spends a little bit of time with me. I don't take it lightly. I think it's going to be uplifting. So Marina Keel says, hey. Oh, and I'm going to mess up some pronunciations of names, so bear with me. But Marina says, hey. Hi, Marina. Rusty Tom says, hello. Rusty, what up? Michaela says, hello. Hi, Michaela. Chad, my man, says, what up, big homie? What's the dizzle? It's snowing here, or it's snowed, and so it is really bright outside right now and cold and frigid. I went for a run in the snow, or the ice, if you will, and that was really fun. I'm doing pretty well. Glad to be here. What is up with you, my dude? BB King Blues King 122 says, did you say hello to the new dinosaurs? You're going to have to bring me up to speed. I don't even know to what you reference, sir. Something that I think is kind of fun, entertaining for me at the very least, is to know where you guys are from. Some of you I already know, but a great many of you I don't. If you're willing to let me know where you are from, that'd be great. Bobby Krupka says, hi Noah, I'm proud of you, and you have been such an inspiration in my life. Keep up the good work. It's not how many times you fall down. It's a true warrior that keeps on getting back, keeps trying. To that respect, I do fit the description, at least for the keep trying aspect of things. Bobby, I appreciate the kind words. I think Bobby is referring to my persistent battle with alcoholism, and thank goodness my efforts to stay sober get sober despite a lot of failure. Chad says, we're prepping for 3 to 8 inches here in North Louisiana. Oh man, I'm going to sound ignorant, but I have no sense of climate in Louisiana. 3 to 8 inches, I'm imagining that's not typical. I think it said we were going to get like 10 here, but we didn't. We got plenty, but it was more like little ice crystals. It was like ice rain that sort of fell, almost like salt. Kirsten, hey Noah. Hey Kirsten, good to see you. Rusty Tom, I'm from Southern California. Badass, thank you. Marina says, when exactly did your dad retire, his last day? I know it was in 2022, but it was shown in 2023. I'm in Illinois, it's below zero. I don't know exactly when he retired. It was in 2022, I suppose just the end of 2022. I'd have to dig up or text him or something, which I'm not going to do right now, but yeah, 2022. He's been retired for the last year, and I miss those days to a certain degree. Chad says, we may get it once a year here and rarely even sticks. Damn, okay. Yeah, I think my wife was telling me here in the Pacific Northwest, in our exact area, Portland metropolitan area in Oregon, that the cold we are having is like the coldest it's ever been for the stretch that it's been this cold, in the teens for temperature, and that's very unusual for us. Amanda Gilmore says, hi from Kentucky. It's currently 9 degrees here, but it feels like 0. Brr. Brr. Kirsten says, I wish we could get some of Canada's cold and snow down here in Minnesota. It's lame winter this year. I shouldn't be waking up early on birds singing. That's funny. What's normal, Kirsten, as far as like a winter temperature this time of year? Okay, wins and losses. What's going well for some of you? What are some things that are positive in your lives, and what are some things that you're struggling with? Maybe they'll direct some conversation and give us some direction here. Modern Doll says it's snowing New Jersey Central Shore. Modern Doll, thank you for popping in and saying hi. Is that normal? Pregunta. Jordan Harris says, hey. What up, Jordan? Good to see you on here. Fast and the Runner says, how is the issue with your gastritis? It's getting much better. Thank you for asking. I've been battling chronic gastritis as a result of binge drinking on an empty stomach for years, it seems like, and I've talked to you guys a little bit about it. About a month ago, I saw a doctor. I just had my follow-up visit a couple days ago, which I filmed, which I'll post this next week for anyone who's curious. But yeah, it's getting better. I'm on a proton pump inhibitor, a PPI, which lowers the production of acid in your stomach. And I've been taking aloe juice every day, some DGL, which is black licorice root, and L-glutamine. I was really strict on my diet for a while as far as making it bland and simple and easy, so that my stomach wasn't doing too much work. Things have been much better, but my doctor wants to start easing me off the DGI, or excuse me, the PPI. As soon as my stomach started feeling better, I started drinking hot coffee again, as opposed to some cold brew. So she wants me to go back to that. But I think long-winded answer, it's definitely doing better, and I'm so grateful. I don't deal with pain particularly well. Thank you for asking. Joey Landoli says, how's it going? Been watching for years now. This last time you put down alcohol was the time you realized you can't do it in moderation. What was different? Honestly, Joey, I'm not sure anything was different other than I just found my outcome to be the same as it's always been, that when I drink, I wind up drinking too much. I wind up drinking when I don't want to be drinking. It goes from wanting to drink to having to drink to drinking and not being able to stop when I'm thinking I should. Loss of control. My life becomes unmanageable. It's been all of the same things, and truthfully, and this is a point of some disappointment, but it is what it is. I didn't want to be honest with you guys about my drinking for the last couple of years as I was drinking. However apparent it maybe was or was not, I never know. Being someone who updates YouTube about his life, you're not sure. I mean, hell, I barely know what I'm doing. But no, the moderation thing was never working. To me, the best I got at moderation over the last couple of years was 5 to 6 days a week, 12 to 14 drinks a night. That was me moderating, and then it just became an everyday thing. So I suppose if I had to pinpoint one thing that was different about being someone who got drunk all the time this last couple of years, was that my physical dependence was worse than it's ever been, and my mental health was crashing bad, and my sense of dread and doom was like unbearable. So I got lucky and I crawled back into sobriety, and I'm much, 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 much happier here. I'm not built to be a drinker. Just can't do it. Drew Woodhouse says, thanks for everything, Noah. Your videos have helped me immensely. Drew from the UK. That makes me feel good to know, Drew. Thank you for sharing some kindness, and I hope you're having a good day. Ethan Michael says, hello, hope all is well. Sending everyone warmth and light. Stay warm and safe all. I love that. Thank you, Ethan. Kirsten says, oftentimes for the winter season, we have somewhere around 10-degree days, as we like to call that, shorts weather, and at least somewhere around 4 to 6 inches around the Twin Cities. Got it. Okay, thank you. Jordan says, Noah, I loved your range video with your friend and wife. Will you be doing another range trip in the near future? Range video. I want to say you're talking about the one maybe where I spoke about travel anxiety. I don't know. Maybe I should. Modern Doll says, positive. I'm happy and doing well. Negative. I feel like stigma pushes people too far or in the wrong direction. Some people. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Stigma and our perception of stigma, I'll speak for myself, my perception of stigma can 100% put me in a box, and as someone who deeply depends on staying realistic and not getting lost in my own head and telling myself things that aren't true, I need to be very careful and do a lot of reality testing around shit like that. Thank you for sharing, Modern Doll. Kirsten says, and a few snowstorms here and there. Yeah, living where I live, any snow, everyone here freaks out. The roads shut down, businesses close. We're talking a fairly minimal amount of snow is enough to completely decimate the Portland metro area. We're just not built for it. If I'm thinking clearly, I want to say there's like only a couple, 2, 3 snow plows in the entire city. So yeah, we get pretty excited for snow. That's for sure. Marina says wind chill -21. Good grief. Kirsten says blizzards of 91 on Halloween was great. I was 4 and my sister and my 3 sisters and I convinced our mom to take us trick-or-treating. Hardly anyone was out. We got so much candy that year. Hey, let the fruits the fruits go to the, okay, there's a metaphor in there. Some type of like the victor gets the spoils or something. Good for you. We had this house, speaking of Halloween, which I know you guys want to hear about. There was this guy in our neighborhood who must have been well off and or just willing to spend a lot of money on Halloween, but all the kids wanted to go to his house in our neighborhood growing up because he had king size candy bars. He would pass out king size candy bars, which to this day I think is just wild. One, because king size candy bars in 2024, I'm guessing, are like $3, around there. But back in that time, back in my day, I want to say it was like $1. Sounds cheap now. Yeah, so we would just circle back. Sometimes he would leave his bucket out, and we would go back late at night and get extra candy, get ourselves all types of tummies. Jordan says, sorry, I meant shooting firearms in the woods. Ah, got it. Maybe this summer. That was a cool experience. I'd never done that before. Yeah, I'd like to. I have all these like ideas of what I want to do, but finding a routine or a schedule that I can be consistent with, like anyone, I suppose, can be troublesome. Modern Doll says, New Jersey snow is common in late winter. Got it. Uranus from Brussels. Hey, Noah, hope you are doing fine. I stopped almost all alcohol about 9 years ago for gym purposes. It saved my life. However, I still smoke 1 joint every evening before bed. Am I considered an addict? I don't know. Do you consider yourself an addict? I'm not in the position to like weigh in on such considerations. I think it's a very individual thing. I really, really do. I think there are people who can smoke some weed every night and who aren't necessarily addicts. They might just be habitual routine smokers. I think there are some people who drink and smoke every night who have to drink and smoke every night, and they need to dig within themselves and come up with those sort of answers as to, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? I really don't know. Can you live without it, I guess, is a question you might ask. And if you can't live without it, are you sure you know why? Do you want to do it or do you have to do it? These are questions I've had to ask myself when it comes to alcohol. And I know for me, the answer was always like, no, I can't live without it. I have to do it even when I don't want to. Yeah, I know a lot of functional weed smokers. And I know some people that it's really, really bad for. It keeps them disconnected from their emotions. It keeps them a little bit deprived of motivation. But other people seems to do the opposite. We all have to walk our own line with that stuff. I appreciate you being honest, though. I really do. I'm curious, when you say you stopped almost all alcohol, what does almost mean for you? The true force and oh boy. The true force Dinsel. What are your thoughts on psychedelics? I get this question, I think, every time I do a live stream. And my perspective on psychedelics remains that while I do believe for some people, and perhaps a great many people, psychedelics with the right people and the right guidance and the right situation, the right dosages, have the potential to be very healing for trauma and for addiction and for depression. I've heard enough and I've listened to enough people talk about it with a lot of education on the topic beyond self research to believe that to be true. I also think it's one of those things that can be overdone, like anything. I also know that for me, given my experiences, I'm not comfortable doing it and I don't plan on ever doing it. But to each their own. I just think we should all be careful with that sort of thing. But I don't condemn it or encourage it. I just think it's one of those things that different people will explore. And more power to them. It's just not something I'm comfortable with. How about that for a diplomatic answer? Where the hell am I? Fast and the Runner says, I'm glad you are doing better, brother. Just know that you're not alone. I will keep you in my prayers. And I will take those prayers. I've become someone who believes in the power of prayer. So thank you. Kirsten says, last April on the 1st, we had a huge storm with a foot or so. I still drove into work somehow. That's wild. Kirsten also says, lots of relaxing alone time today is good. The downside is struggling with that and the strong cravings that come with that. Yeah, 100%. You know my stance on all of this stuff, but we're all on this journey, and I obviously want you happy, whole, and calm. Get support if you need it, my friend. Exodus says, did you get an upper endoscopy? Not yet. I'm waiting for it. I imagine it's going to be a very long time, maybe March or something. Sorry, just tuning in if you already went over it. I did not. Claire, and welcome, by the way. I'm glad you're here. And thank you to everyone who's here. If you're someone who's watching right now and you're like, what is going on? I just answer questions. I usually don't go off on any sort of, self-prescribed tangents. I just like to spend time with you, let you guys sort of dictate how this goes. If you've never left a question or said, hey, talk about this, or just shared, maybe you're like, I don't necessarily have anything to ask, but you want to say hi, I think you should. I think it gets you more involved. I think it feels good. This is a really good place to try getting involved in a live stream if you never have before. I'm looking at you, person looking away. Try it. I think it can be fun, and I would love to engage with you. Yeah. Anyway, where are we? Claire Bond says, hey, Noah, your videos have helped me so much with anxiety and depression. I'm really glad to know that. I always go back and watch some of your older videos to remind me what I need to do to help myself know what to do. That's great. I'm glad they're there. I really, really am. I have been in a pickle a great many times between my ears, and I don't have answers often for the things I'm going through, but I can find great comfort. I can find tremendous comfort in the stories of other people, hearing other people share about their experiences or what's worked for them. The idea that someone can prove that I'm not alone just by sharing their own story is immensely powerful to me. I don't take it lightly, and it saved me over and over again. So I do believe, to that respect, that I have the chance to share what's going on in my head, just like you do and we all do, and it might save someone. You never know. So I'm glad. Where are we? Okay, Kirsten. We had a house that we hit up first. He gave out 12-ounce cans of pop and stickers and a small candy bar. Badass. What was the highlight of your week this past week? Thank you for asking. I'm going to say the highlight of my week this last week was making every appointment for all my clients at my gym and my responsibilities, and doing so feeling good. Something when I was drinking prior to getting sober in September that really, really was hard for me was being consistent. Being consistent for staff at my gym, being consistent for my wife, making appointments and keeping them, being consistent for my clients, just being consistent as a friend. Little things overwhelmed me because I was always drunk or hungover, and it was a terrible space to live in. So the highlight for this last week, I think, would just be that I had a day where I had appointments. I had early morning training, coaching late. I had a video project that I was filming. I just had a lot of cool things going on, but busy things that required my attention, my effort, my focus. And I was able to do them with no issues. And maybe you hear this and you're just like, all right, that is part of being a grown-up. That's not part of being a grown-up for me and my addiction. I promise you. That's the sort of day that I would just cancel on everyone or no show or get drunk when I shouldn't have or just be in tremendous anxiety the night before a big, long, full day and wish I wouldn't get drunk but drink anyway. Those things were hard for me. So good job being an adult, Noah. I'd say that was my win for this last week. Thanks for asking. RG says, sup, Noah, congrats on your recent stretch of sobriety. Thank you. Just curious, have you come close to drinking again at any point? And do you find yourself still having any cravings, even if very small? So thank you for the question. This is a good one. I think I'm going to leverage that question into a video for this week. Let me write that down. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. I really like that question. So the first 5 days, 7 days-ish of this round of recovery and sobriety were very, very hard for me. I was detoxing to the highest degree that I've personally ever detoxed off alcohol based on drinking 12 to 14 drinks every night. So my anxiety was just horrible. My sleep was horrible. My mood was horrible. I was just not feeling good. And I want to say 2-ish weeks into being sober, maybe 3, I went into a gym for my mentor, or I went to my mentor's gym with my wife, and they must have had some sort of party the week before, the night before, but there was just a giant cardboard pallet. Is that what you would call it? A beer. It was just sitting there, and I got activated. And one of the things for me in getting sober, especially in early sobriety, but it's something I'm very weary of and I'm very mindful of now, is that I can be triggered when I'm not expecting it. And I'm very sensitive to activation early in sobriety. The longer I'm sober, the more I do the things that you're supposed to do or that are suggested to do when you're someone like me who needs help with addiction, the easier it gets. But I digress. 2 to 3 weeks into sobriety, I went into this gym, I saw the alcohol, and before I know it, I got that hot feeling. And for me, when I get a hot feeling, my head gets pressury. I kind of get this out-of-body thing that goes on. I can't think clearly, and I go into almost like a fight or flight zombie-like state, and I become very, very afraid. When I'm in active addiction, whatever, this is normal. I'm going to get drunk, so it's not so powerful because I'm already conceding to my addiction. But when I'm sober and this feeling comes over me, I am frightened because historically when this happens, or a lot of the times when this happens and I'm not ingrained or sober long enough to escape it, it's like lights out, it's game over. I'm going to get fucked up. I'm going to drink even if I don't want to. And so luckily I told someone about it. I hung in there. I went to a 12-step meeting later, and it wasn't until late that night that the craving passed, but I survived it. And I say survived because a drink for me can lead to years of drinking. And so it is like a survival thing to make it through a craving. And thank God I was honest with people at that 12-step meeting. I was honest with my wife. I reached out to people for support, and I got through it. And it was really, really, really scary. But I think that's the last time, thank God, knock on wood, one day at a time, that I had a major, major craving. And I haven't had any since. And I take no credit for that. I would say that that is largely because I have just been in a space of submission, of willingness to just do what people that stay sober suggest I do. And I am doing that to the best of my ability. And it's really, really been helpful. And it's kept me from being stuck in a perpetual state of craving, fuck, drink, remorse, misery, depression, drink, craving, all of the cycle. If any of you are familiar with addiction, I'm someone who's very prone to being stuck in that cycle, but I can also be in the cycle of recovery. I've proven that to myself one day at a time for the last few months here. Thank God. All right, where are we at? The True Force says, also, any advice for someone who's 31 and only had one relationship that ended in disaster? I wonder if you're asking for my advice on what advice would you want? Let me think. How about this? What I would say is, if I were in your shoes, I imagine I would want to gently look at and explore the relationship. What are the things that I liked about it? What are the things that didn't serve me? What parts of that partnership are like, yeah, I like that in a partner, and what parts are like, this is something I don't want in the future. And then I might focus on just being my best self and seeing how I can develop and grow as a person. Am I the type of person that I would want to marry or date or spend time with? Maybe work on that, focus on yourself and your own growth and your own social, emotional, and wellness skills, physical skills, and then explore the dating pool when you're ready, and maybe be more clear when you're dating with things you like and things you don't. But I mean, dude, I've been in a relationship with my wife since I was 21 years old. So I have been out of the dating game forever. So I am likely the worst person to be giving this sort of advice. But that's what pops into my head. If you got anything out of that, God bless you. All right. Oh, and I'm sorry it ended in disaster, by the way. That's no fun. Inquisitive noob. Hey, I hurt the one I love most in unimaginable ways possible, and she still forgave me. I will become a better person, but do you have any suggestions on tips on not dwelling on your past? And thank you for your helpful videos. I really, really relate to what you just said, and I really appreciate you being honest. I'm not going to give you a tip, but I'm going to share my own experience and see if there is a tip to be found or be had there. I'm with someone who has chosen to endure a lot of mistreatment as far as my behavior as a friend and as a husband. I have no history of physical abuse. I don't raise my voice or yell at my wife or call her names. But I am someone who can be very undependable, very inconsistent, very emotionally vacant, and unreliable as an adult partner. I have let her down and lied by omission, and not been a good friend and not been a good husband far too many times. Enough to where if I let it, it leads me into a spiral of self-loathing, which is very, very, very effective for getting me to self-destruct. I'm someone who tends to self-destruct. What I try to do and what I've been encouraged to do when I have a moment of clarity, which right now I do, is to look back on my past, not regret it, not shut the door on it, but learn from it. Realize that that version of me, however you want to think of this, was doing the best he could, even if the best is not acceptable to me today. What can I do to learn from that person? Speaking to myself, what do I want to do differently, and how can I forgive him so that I can change and be different? That's sort of where my head goes, because if I take too personally all of the mistakes I've made, and I've made a lot of mistakes, as most of us, if not all of us have. I'm lying. All of us have made mistakes. If I decide that that's who I am and I'm unworthy of forgiveness, then what are we doing, and how can I be of use to my wife anyway? How can I be a good friend, and how can I be helpful anyway? So that's how I try to forgive. And another thing I'll say that works for me here is that something that helps is getting distance from those old behaviors. So the longer I stay sober for me, and the more I do esteemable things, the more I go to bed content with my behavior, not necessarily my feelings for the day or my thoughts, but my behavior, the more I get congruent with who I think I'm really supposed to be, the more I start to trust this new person that I'm working hard to become is real, and he's not a fraud, and the easier it gets to be gentle about my past and forgive myself. That's where I go. So I hope that helped. Thrasher1293 says, hey man, started going to the gym for about a year, but not seeing the results. I want what type of training? Oh, I see. What type of training do you recommend? Wonder if I'm low on T. You might be. So there's a lot of things I'd want to know based on that comment. Good job for going to the gym, though. That's awesome. You're still building a muscle, even if it's just one in here and in other ways, too. My gym experience has been very adaptive. It's been very slow going. Wins, losses, things that are working, things that aren't. Everything I've done and all the mistakes I've made and the successes and the failures and the progress and then the lack of progress has led me to be a pretty consistent athlete who's found a way of training and a consistent way of living that works for me in the gym. For you, what I would say is that, well, I'd want to know how often are you training? What type of training are you doing? But mostly, if you're going 3 to 5 days a week, and you're doing some strength training, some aerobic training, also depending on your diet, you should make some progress of some sort. So I think what I would recommend you do is start documenting what you're doing and maybe getting a little more dialed in with what you're eating and how you're eating. I find myself scattered right now. If you have really low T, it's going to be really hard to build muscle. When I had really low T, I worked out a lot when I was trying to get better for my depression, and I could barely move. I could barely work out. I had almost no testosterone in my body. It made sense that it was so hard for me. But now that my testosterone is optimized and it's been optimized, I was able to make a lot of progress. And I wonder if that's part of your story too. A simple blood draw would help you know. Yeah, we'd have to have a private conversation, I think, on this one. But it's badass that you're looking into it. And I don't think the answer is to stop working out either. Joey Landoli says, I fell into depersonalization or maybe depression 7 years ago when I first discovered your videos and have had to move 5 to 6 times since then, which has made it worse. But I'm trying EMDR therapy soon. You should look into it. Okay, I appreciate you sharing. And I have looked into it, and I think that's great. And I hope it works really, really well for you. And thank you for sharing. Andrew Garfield says, off topic, but you're so cute. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it. I am flattered. Be real and love one another. Love on another. You have to learn to hate alcohol in order to finally put it down. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Ricky DB85 says, hey, Noah. What's up, Ricky? Kirsten, that's great, and you should for sure be proud of that, even if it seems small and simple. I agree. Those are the types of wins we have to focus on in recovery and sobriety and feel good about. Yes. Lilith says, can you talk about you choosing to work for yourself instead of others? Greetings, Noah. Sure. What comes to mind for me in this regard is when I was really struggling in 2011. I'd had my mental breakdown. I was dealing with a lot of clinical depression, anxiety, depersonalization. I didn't know it at the time, but low testosterone. I wasn't doing well. And I was struggling to function. I was struggling to see any semblance of surviving and making it in this world that does require a lot of consistency and effort. I was going to a depression support group, and the guy that ran the group, Douglas Block, he worked for himself. And he was one of the people that put it in my head that if I was potentially going to be struggling with mental health issues for any long period of time, it would behoove me potentially to find a way to be my own employer, so that I could potentially work on my own schedule and have a little more control and not be as confined to, let's say, a 9-to-5 and or a hierarchy of leadership that would require me to be certain places and do certain things. It would give me more flexibility. That's what planted the seed. And then I looked at YouTube as a potential avenue for that, or a vehicle for being able to work for myself, where I could be my best self when I felt good, but I could also hide away and take care of myself if I got sick. This is all under the guise that I was going to be depressed forever, which didn't end up being the case, thank God. But that's sort of what put me on a path. Now, my dad was also an entrepreneur. He's a doctor, but he owned his own medical practice. So I was around people that own their own businesses, and I had already been privy to how cool that could be, despite it being like a volatile way to try to live. So that sort of sparked the whole thing. And I just pursued it while working for someone else. And then once my finances got in order enough to work for myself, and once I learned how to be a little more responsible about working for myself, it was pretty hard at first, pretty easy not to do anything when no one's forcing you until money starts getting low. I realized that I really liked it, and it really did make sense for me. And it was really good for my mental health and my emotional health. And it just led me down this path to where when I tried to work for someone else again, it was really tough on my mental health. I did not like it. I did not like working for someone else, no matter who they were. And I love working for myself, and I think it's a beautiful thing, and it's a scary thing at times, and it's been confusing as a gym owner at times, but it just works for me. And it makes my mental health, or it gives me a better sense of calm about my mental health, because if I need to take space for myself, I can. If you got anything out of that, God bless you. RG says, great response. It truly is amazing the way our brain and body reacts when being triggered by our drug of choice. It very much can feel like a fight or flight response. Keep up the awesome work and keep pushing. Thank you, RG. I appreciate it. Ricky DB85 says, just wondering, how did you get your energy back after your depressive episode? I have always kept fit, but struggled to do anything since my mental breakdown in 2017. My energy levels are just low. So I totally empathize. I had what I would describe as like negative energy when I was depressed. You should have seen my room. I remember big wins were like, I took a shower today and I would just get in the shower. I swear to you, I would slump to the ground and just sit there, and I could barely move. And then I would get out and I would just woefully go to the kitchen and try to be social. But even being around people was tough. And I would just lay in bed, and sleep didn't give me rest, but being awake was even worse. It was a terrible place to be. Terrible place to be. And part of my story that I will always commit to being open about is that I had extremely low testosterone. And until those multiple blood draws revealed that my testosterone, the most important male hormone, until I found that out, I was never going to have any chance at good energy. So I got that addressed, and it sort of started the process of being able to address other things which can be very damning for energy. So that's number one. I made sure my hormone panel was good, and that's everything from vitamin D to my thyroid, T4 and T3, to my total and free testosterone. And then you have other things like DHEA, LH, TSH, FSH, things like that. Once I figured out that was going on, then I had a chance to be vulnerable to and or to overcome traditional reasons that a lot of us get extremely tired. Sleep hygiene, namely, being the biggest one, I think. Getting my sleep better, huge. Addressing addiction issues for me, huge. What I eat, how I think, who I spend time with, huge. Normal things that you might associate with wellness. It was addressing those piece by piece, part by part, brick by brick. Lots of wins, lots of losses, 10 steps forward, 15 back, 35 forward, 2 back type of mentality. But over time, with the foundation of healthy hormones, and then the biggest foundation, which would be in recovery and sober, I've been able to very, very slowly and kind of systematically stack habits that have led to good overall energy. But it's been a very, very slow and at times arduous process. So I encourage you to just do what you think you can be consistent with and go from there, and be gentle with yourself like I try to continuously be for myself. And coffee. Excuse me. The True Force says, if I was to invite someone like you to a party where I'd have a few beers, how do I do that knowing that person's history? Just needed some advice on how to deal with people in your situation. If you know someone's history, my encouragement to you is to not invite them to situations that have alcohol in them, particularly if they're like drinking occasions. I'm saying that from a personal perspective. There's another part of me that really believes in self-efficacy. So I think as long as you're clear about, this is like two inverse thoughts, but as long as you're clear about what's going on at the party, you know someone has a history of addiction issues. One, ask yourself, why am I inviting them? But two, if it's really just a low-key, laid-back gathering that'll have some alcohol, hey, invite them, which is very kind to invite someone to a gathering, but let them know there will be some drinking if that's not, just boom, and stop. There will be some drinking. That's sort of where my head goes. Now, on a different note, if someone is close to you and they're really struggling, I don't think it makes any sense to invite them anywhere where there's alcohol, regardless of how confident they think they are. I just don't think it helps. It's a good question, though. Jason Templar says, love you, Noah. You inspire me to do better. I'm trying to get sober again after 12 years sober. Wow, and it's been awful. Drinking daily now. Damn. Jason, I'm with you. I'm here for you. I really do get it. I do understand. And if you got those 12 years, you know something about how to stay sober, and maybe you can just explore what might be the next piece to help you get back there and keep it. I know reaching out for support was my story. I have no idea what's going to be best for you, but I'm really glad I reached out for help again. I treasure my sobriety today. I much, much prefer being on the side of the fence as someone who had a really dangerous and ultimately very uncomfortable and shitty experience with alcohol. So hang in there, be brave. The world record for sobriety is 24 hours. We all just have today. I'll be rooting for you. I mean that. The True Force says, as I have no experience in that field, got it. Be real and love on another. What are your thoughts about being on testosterone and having an active addiction with alcohol? I'm currently running HRT. I feel like when our hormones influence anxiety and relapse very easily. I don't know how to word this, but basically I'm an alcoholic and I feel like testosterone definitely has influence on my sobriety. This is a really interesting question and I've tried to broach this. For me, I think testosterone under the care of a doctor, done in the right ways for the right reasons, is pure good. It's pure gift to anyone with low T like me, like a lot of men, especially if there's no tangible way to get that optimal. We live in a very toxic world with toxic food, toxic environments, sedentary lifestyles. So many things are stacked against us. It's shocking how many men and women are living with incredibly unideal hormone levels that are crippling them and they don't even know it. And but to answer your question, when it comes to the addiction side of things, I definitely struggled when I was drinking, knowing that, all right, I'm on TRT, but the way I'm living is low T lifestyle. But because I'm on TRT, I can get away with it. And I do think some of that fueled my behavior to some degree. Because I was like, listen, I'm not going to be punished with low T for binge drinking every night. I will still have good hormone levels, which will allow me to kind of push a little through it in a way that I don't think I would have been able to. The reality is it still didn't change the fact that I needed it. And I still couldn't help being the alcoholic that I am. So it was something I had to go through, and I do think it prolonged my active addiction to some degree because I think my side effects and my lifestyle outside of it was already miserable, but it would have been worse. I would have been in more physical and mental and emotional pain had I not been on TRT, which I do think or I imagine would have led me to getting sober sooner. But that's just not what happened. I was in enough pain even on TRT. I definitely don't think being on TRT made me want to drink more. I just think it made it easier to drink in general and not suffer all the same consequences. I think that maybe answers your question, but I will tell you that my overall sense of well-being and on this topic of being a guy on TRT has gotten significantly better, being more honest and more ethical on my TRT, where now I'm living a lifestyle that would be conducive for optimal T, even though I will never have optimal T naturally. But it just makes me feel better about myself knowing that I'm doing all the things I need to do for my health, and then I just stay in a space of gratitude about the fact that there's treatment for a guy like me with hypogonadism. That's a tough one, and my thoughts are scattered, but I thank you for giving me a chance to think about it out loud. Here we go. Be real, love one another. I don't know. Okay. MD says, I am 26 and about to start TRT. Any tips? Learn as much as you can. There's an HRT Bible, I think they titled it. I own it. Great book. It'll teach you a lot about what you need to know. Less is more, I think, when first starting TRT. If you're about to start TRT for reasons other than you have low T, I caution you and I encourage you to explore what that's really about and what you might do naturally. I know that if I could go back and I was in a different situation than the one I was in, and I had the chance to, I probably would try to address it naturally first, because TRT is typically a lifelong decision, and it's a great one if you need it, like I do. But if you know you need it, you can't address this naturally with sleep, diet, exercise, things like that, then just be really patient and learn as much as you can and be aware that your body's going to change, your mind's going to change, and lower expectations and just go with the flow. It took me a great many months to find my rhythm. And good for you if you need help and you're getting it. That's fucking awesome. Let it be. I've been watching you for a while now. I'm so proud of you and your total inspiration. It's really nice of you to say. Thank you. Gary says, your videos have helped me. Your videos have helped me. Watching your journey as thought I was only, hold on, Gary, let me try this again. Your videos have helped me. Watching your journey as I thought I was the only one who had DPDR symptoms and still do. What made you believe you would heal? Well, I'm sorry you're struggling, Gary, with the DPDR. For those of you that don't know, DPDR refers to depersonalization, derealization disorder. And this is a condition that I suffered from for a couple of years back in the day. Grateful that I don't anymore. But it leads you to experience life as if you're behind a big, thick sheet of glass, a disconnected feeling from your body and from your environment or some degree thereof. I described it back in the day as the experience of being very, very tired, but somehow still wide awake, being over-caffeinated and unable to sleep, but needing it, or kind of like being hungover, but a combination. It's sort of like that. Not good. Very, very upsetting, very frightening, to be honest. You know what? I didn't believe I would heal, if I'm being honest. I did not believe I would heal from depersonalization and derealization. But I did find some people. Sorry, guys, 1 second. I did not think I would heal, but I did find some people who I believed had gone through what I was going through and who did heal. I believed that they believed I could heal. I was able to leverage other people's belief. One of the consistent things for me when my mental health just goes is that I'm just convinced I'm never going to get better. And I think it's fairly normal. So with DPDR, it just took time. It took a safety net. It took a lot of coping. And it took reading When Going Through Hell, Don't Stop by Douglas Bloch to where his story, I was like, holy shit, that dude knows. That dude knows. And if he got better, I know that it's possible that I could. And that was enough to get the ball rolling. Hang in there. The True Force says, I used to be 130 kilos. Now I'm 87. I lost a ton of weight 6 days a week. I eat healthy once a week. I have a few beers. Nothing wrong with that, but I've given up junk food. Badass. Sounds like you're killing it, brother. I'm assuming this is from a previous question. I just don't remember. It's badass, though. Good for you. MD says, is there much difference between daily and twice weekly injections for TRT? Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to inject TRT, testosterone, daily, then you're going to mimic natural blood levels a lot more effectively. So you'll have far less peaks and far less valleys, and therefore your blood levels should stay a lot more consistent, which could lead to better efficacy or less mood swings or less side effects and things that you wouldn't want. The potential issue with daily is adherence. That's why I would never consider doing it. For me, twice a week is perfect, namely because of adherence. I know that I can stick to a Monday, Thursday schedule for my hormone replacement therapy. I can be consistent. Even then, sometimes I forget for a couple days. I'm like, shit, I didn't do my thing. But overall, my ability to stick with my protocol is very, very high at twice a week. I used to do it every week, and I realized it was too big of a peak and too low of a valley. And I tried 3 times a week, but realized I would just not do it or forget to do it or just be too tired one day to do it. And that's not good either. So if someone can be on hormone replacement therapy and stick to a daily schedule, maybe find some sort of administrative option like a subcutaneous one where we're going into fat, not muscle, badass. There's a lot of pros to that. It's just not something I was willing to do because, like I said, I didn't think I'd stick to it, and I need to be able to trust that I can stick to my plan. Claire Bond says, oh, and you'll likely have less peaks in your estradiol daily. Claire Bond says, what supplements would you recommend for mental health? I think the only supplements I'm comfortable recommending, actually, you know what? Nope. The supplements I take for my mental health that I think are really good for me in my specific situation are vitamin D with vitamin K to help with absorption. A lot of good research on that. I take L-tyrosine, which I find is very good for my mental health as well. And what's another goodie? L-glutamine, because it's good for my stomach. It's good for healing my digestive tract, which lowers inflammation, which I think is really good for mental health. I do believe the things most studied that have a lot of research to back them for mental health wellness in the form of supplementation are things like vitamin D, are certainly things like fish oil, DHEA, high in omega-3s, and would be something, believe it or not, like creatine has a lot of efficacy too. Do your research, talk to your doctor, see what works best for you. I just looked left and right for my coffee and it's in my hand. That's where we're at in this live stream. These questions are great. I'm having a really good time. I hope for however long you guys are hanging out with me, you're having just the swellest time, because I'm having a good time. Israel Salazar says, how many times is too many times in rehab? I've already been to it twice, about to go for the third time. Dude, I love that question. So I went 3 times to rehab. I have spent a total of 7 months of my life in rehab, and I was this close to going again. I think when it comes to rehab, however many times it takes, the caveat there is that I wonder, I don't know, but I wonder if going to a different type of rehab might be useful. To say that I don't know that going right back to the same rehab or the exact same style of rehab over and over and over and over and over again is necessarily the right choice. But I definitely don't think staying in active addiction and slowly, if not quickly, heading towards a premature death, or even worse, a miserable, elongated death by 1,000 cuts is better than going to whatever. If you're willing to get help, I know for me, it was like small fucking pockets of time where I was like, I'm going to get help again. Do it. Just do it. But that's sort of where my head's at. Either way, just know that I'm rooting for you more than you could possibly know. And you're not alone, and I believe in you. Even if you don't necessarily believe in yourself, I completely believe in you. So be brave and get the help you need however many times. Don't feel any shame. Addiction is a mother. It is a mother. I am not worthy because addiction is so strong and powerful. Very detailed window cleaner. That's a really funny name. You should try microdosing to help with alcoholism. I appreciate the suggestion. I will respectfully pass. Not for me. The True Force says, you could say I was addicted to food. I've been battling loneliness and overeat to cope, but since I gave up junk food, it's been hard. I bet, alcohol to me, I can relate to myself, but alcohol to me was like a friend for a long time. It was like my best friend. And I learned later in addiction education that there's a reason it was a friend, because it was relieving the stress that it was causing. And it was also creating a connecting hormone called oxytocin. There was an oxytocin release for me when I drank. It connected me to alcohol and disconnected me, of course, as a direct reaction from everything that actually matters. I wonder if food is doing a very similar thing for you. And I wonder if you need support. I know that for me, just not drinking was never going to be enough. It's never been enough. Just not drinking doesn't work for me, but finding a sufficient substitution for me, it's 12-step recovery work. It's my gym and my fitness and friends and family, healthy behaviors and things like that. Those are my substitutions that are working. I wonder if maybe you could use some extra support. I don't know, but I really appreciate your honesty and your openness. I bet it has been hard. Kirsten says, my oldest was having some off feelings. I made an appointment for her and she was prescribed antidepressants. Quite a few months ago, of hardly a year on them, she felt able to function fine without them and stopped taking them. I have admittedly felt a little jealous of this, as I wish I felt I could do the same, but I also remain thankful that she felt comfortable talking about this and getting help early on. I really appreciate your honesty and your transparency. I can totally imagine. I'm happy that my kids, this is still Kirsten, I'm happy that my kids are in a generation where all these things have become acceptable to discuss, and I just continue to hope they do so, and I hope they don't have to deal with mental health and addiction struggles. I hope so too. Because they've been pretty uncomfortable for me, and I know for you too, Kirsten, and I know for a lot of us. They've been very, very uncomfortable. So I hope so too. And I'm also glad that we live in a time, hell, when I first started talking about depression and my mental health issues online back in 2012, That was pretty rare, it seemed like. It doesn't seem that rare anymore, 12 years later. But when I was in my mid 20s as a YouTuber, admitting the things I was admitting, and I really don't say this to glorify myself, I just mean like it seemed extra rare. So I really like that now just people do that and it's great. And let's keep doing it and let's encourage kids to talk and be open, and adults, by the way, grown-ups. Yeah. Brain fart. The True Force says, excuse me. General Stealth, do you know what caused your low T? My $1,000,000 question. No, I don't exactly know what caused my low T. We hypothesized that after I had my mental breakdown as a result of, well, a lot of things, but once I had my mental breakdown that acutely got aggressive and almost life-threatening, and life-threatening in 2011, that the mental breakdown coupled with the prolonged time I was in that treatment-resistant depression with the history of alcoholism and some depression and anxiety, with all the antidepressants and psych meds and mood stabilizers, all of this was like a perfect storm to where we don't know what caused what came first, the chicken or the egg, but we do know that some combination and or some isolated version of what I just described led to a very dysfunctional hormone response period. Not just in the form of my testosterone, but my thyroid was messed up as well, along with some other things like my DHEA, my LH, and FSH. Was it the antidepressants that led to my low T? I don't know. I think I had low T before that, though. I was having erectile dysfunction in my early 20s. I just couldn't put two and two together. And ultimately, it doesn't matter. I'm here. I have treatment. I have help. And I have a chance to live a lifestyle that's conducive for good mental health and physical health now, thanks to my recovery and my TRT and my friends, my family, and all the things that I try to talk about. Oh, I see my mom. Oh, I'm going to skip ahead because I'm biased. I'm going to read my mom's comment. Maya Thomas, who's my mom, who I love, who's the best. She says, great live chat, baby. Mwah. Thank you, Mama. I'm happy that you're here. I'll text you. I want to get your water heater working if you're still here. I don't want you taking cold showers unless you're ready. I'm being silly now. I can feel it. I must need to eat. Ricky says, thank you for that information. I have started boxing, so hope that helps my energy, and one step at a time, eh? Yes, that will help with your energy. Good job. Overcoming Within. Sup. Hop Bab Uranavar boy. Would you ever increase your TRT to bulk up and get bigger? No, I wouldn't. But I've always, there's a part of me that will always wonder and want to just for funsies. But I already take what I think is a really generous TRT dose. I take 160 a week. Typical TRT doses are anywhere from like 100 to 200. Some people even less, but I think less than 100 is kind of wonky. But 100 to 200 a week, depending on how you convert total to free and your estradiol and all of that. How much sex hormone binding globulin you have. 100 to 200 a week seems to be really ideal. Any higher and you're starting to get into potential blood work issues and symptoms and side effects that just aren't necessary. They started me at 200 and I admittedly got really big on 200. I ate a lot, I got big, I got strong, it was fun. Felt good. I was like dead inside physically and mentally, emotionally before starting. I then lowered down to like 140 for time. Now my sweet spot's 160 and this is where I live. I sometimes wonder if I'm not going to go down a little bit more because I just want to be safe. And yes, there is a bro in me that wants to be so big and so buff and just have so much fun in that regard. But it all is, will, and has to be secondary to mental health and emotional sobriety and doing the right thing for myself and not getting caught up in anything that's going to lead me into addictive behavior. So thankfully, I've never abused my TRT. I've never taken more than prescribed. I have gone down and then asked if I could go a little bit back up. But I've never ventured into anything above the 200 marker, which is what they started me on. And I've lowered down to 160 cents. And again, I often think I'll end up at 120, 140 long term. But would I be curious? Sure. To take, I don't know, 300 or 400 for a couple months just to see. But ultimately, I don't think that's what's best for me. And I don't think that will put me on a good path mentally and emotionally. I think it's a slippery slope. And so I am content with seeing how can I maximize my physical experience with the foundation being mental and emotional wellness and physical wellness. And then I can have fun with like, what can I do with this body on TRT that I have for the time I've got it. Does that make sense? That's sort of where my head goes. Plus, on a side note, I also fear that, let's say, I mean, I do CrossFit, by the way. I'm a CrossFit coach. I own a CrossFit gym, and I am just a diehard athlete in that I love CrossFit. I love that training style. I like bodybuilding. I like everything, but I love functional fitness. One day we're walking on our hands. One day we're going for a run. One day we're maxing out our back squat. One day we're doing pull-ups. One day we're crawling all over the floor doing bodyweight movements. I love that style of training. I love the competitive nature of it, and I love the versatility. I don't think being any bigger than I already am, I weigh 195 about, would be good for that. And last thing I'll say, since I'm just content to ramble on about this topic, here's a big fear I've always had this healthy fear about taking more than I've been prescribed just for the sake of getting bigger. What if that felt so good and I got so big that going back to normal TRT doses was not good enough for me anymore? What if my brain's like, oh, I've kissed the sun and now being back on earth or whatever? It's like, it's a slippery slope, and I don't ever want to lose my state of gratitude for just being able to move my body and challenge myself. So yeah, that's a good question. I clearly have lots on my mind about it. But do I want to get as jacked and as ripped and do as cool a shit as I can as a guy on TRT? You betcha. You betcha. Okay. The True Force says, I also need to learn to stop getting attached to people. My ex-girlfriend was everything to me, and I'm trying to process the loss, especially because someone else destroyed my relationship. Ooh, there's a lot to unpack there, but I appreciate your honesty. Codependency is a big issue for me too, so I get it. I'm with you. Amanda says, Noah, I want to ask a question. I came off an antidepressant medication, and 1 month after I started feeling numb. Is this a withdrawal or am I depressed again? What do you advise me to do? Alicia, that's a very common thing I've heard too. I encourage you to talk to your doctor or your psychiatrist or your therapist and get support. I wonder if maybe you weren't ready to get off or you came off too fast. I don't know. All I know is that if you're not feeling safe and you're not feeling good and you're having mental health issues, the who's, the what's of it all, you don't have to sort it out by yourself. I encourage you to get professional help immediately. If you need to go back on or need to taper or try something new, that's okay. Staying safe first and stabilizing, I think, is the most important thing. But that's just my opinion. I recommend you get support. Mike Slot says, hi, Noah. Are you on SSRIs, which are serotonin reuptake inhibitors? What's the double S? Hey Siri, what does SSRI stand for? Yeah, but what's the second S? Whatever. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. No, I could have answered that first. I am not on an SSRI, but I was on a few of them for a year or two when I first had my mental breakdown, was struggling badly with depression and anxiety back in 2011 and 12, and over the course of time I was able to come off and I got my hormone issues addressed. Inquisitive Noob says, is it normal for a relationship to feel off for a while after ruining my significant other's trust? Yeah. I feel a lot of guilt, and I don't know if I can ever forgive myself for my past or my current thoughts. Yeah, look, you trying to... Don't do that, Noah. For me, trying to fix my own thoughts with my own thoughts while I'm deep in those thoughts are it's very, very hard. I've ultimately not been very successful. What's worked better for me, which maybe will work better for you, is to act my way into better thinking. To just go to leadership, show some contrition for my past, forgive myself, even for the response of not forgiving myself, if that makes sense. Like, hey, Noah, I forgive you for struggling to forgive yourself. That must be hard for you. You must be really going through it, right? Like, have a little compassion for your own lack of compassion for yourself. And then I know that I would just try to focus on the things I can control. There's an expression in recovery rooms that I think are incredibly, or that I think is, there is an expression in recovery rooms as far as addiction recovery that's very, very common, and there's a lot of truth to it. And that expression is, this too shall pass. I'm assuming a great many of you have heard this expression. Good times, they're going to pass. Neutral times, they're going to pass. Down times, and these are the hardest ones to remember, they're going to pass. So this weirdness you're experiencing, it's probably very, very normal, and it will pass. So I encourage you to simply be an action-based person. Don't wait to think or feel anything. Just come up with an action plan that you and or someone you trust who has your best interest in mind can help corroborate that is a good action plan. The rest will change. Just have a little faith. Trust big no-no. Oh boy. Remind me not to speak to myself in third person. I wanted to try it on for size. I didn't like it. It was weird. Where are we? Shit, where are we? Oh, Kirsten, Clairbon study gut health and good diet for that. Oh, gut health. Good call. Jeez Louise. I take a probiotic. Very important for mental health. Are very related, and having such a diet can help your mental health. Learn about it in nutrition class and programming. Yeah, nutrition, of course. Jeez Louise. Jeez. Inquisitive Noob. I also experience a lot of thoughts about what I have done with my mind convinces otherwise. And so I don't know if I can ever let go of this thought, since it's a horrible one that needs to be answered. Sorry for the constant questions. I feel very lost and absolutely ashamed right now for my past actions and thoughts. I appreciate the answers greatly. I think my last stab at your question probably helped cover you there. And don't be sorry. You've done nothing wrong. I'm glad you're here. We're all glad you're here. Aren't we, everyone? Yeah, we're glad. See? Look at that. You're right where you belong. General Stealth says, I can relate. My FSH is low and my T is fluctuating to really low, but then in a low normal range. I started private TRT daily microdosing with a doctor with HCG, but my estrogen was too high. Yeah, everyone's different as far as how their estrogen is impacted by their TRT. There's so many factors. I think obesity, not to project that you're obese, but being overweight, carrying more body fat really, really makes it easier to convert more of it to estrogen, which can lead to side effects and less functionality of your TRT. It is a puzzle that you will have to sort out. Just don't lose steam. Keep trying to figure it out, because once it's dialed, it's a good place to be. It'll help allow you to be your best self. The True Force says, what's your relationship like with gambling? I don't gamble. I did some stupid sports betting when I was in my addiction, lost a few $100. I choose not to gamble, but I don't necessarily think I have a problem with gambling. I just take it very personal when I lose any amount of money, and sober me, I want to be fiscally responsible. I don't have money to gamble. I just really don't. So I don't gamble, but I'm not saying I wouldn't, excuse me. Look how comfortable I am. I'm like picking my nose in front of you guys. I'm not saying I wouldn't do some gambling maybe someday, but it's just it's not a thing for me. General Stealth says, I was diagnosed with secondary hypogonadism for no known reason, potentially because of chronic stress and SSRI medication. I'm no longer on TRT, and I'm having intrusive thoughts and major depression. Why are you off TRT? Just curious. Thank you for sharing. Kirsten says, I should go be a responsible adult and do some cleaning and such now. It was really good to see you and talk with you, Noah. I hope you make this week a good week one. Oh, thank you. I hope you make it a good week too. It was really good to see you. The True Force says, how tall are you? I tell people 5'11". I think barefoot, technically, I'm 5'10 3/4. General Stealth says, not sure if I should go back on TRT standalone and just twice weekly like yourself. I'm desperate to get better. 10 years of this constant cycle of mental health breakdowns, this shitty life. No, it's no way to live. I'm with you. I'm not sure what's best for you, but I don't mess with the fact that I need TRT and I'm on it. I try to stay in a space of gratitude. It is something I need to survive, just like someone with diabetes needs insulin. Just like someone with clinical depression, you might need an SSRI. Just like someone who can't see needs glasses. It's just, I need to be in a space of gratitude and acceptance. There's medical treatment for people like me. Take it, don't abuse it, and then focus on living the best life you can. Huh? Ricky says, I lost my job with depression, been in 2 hospitals, and lost the chance of getting my black belt and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so I didn't realize how bad depression can be. I'm sorry to hear that. Yes, depression, once you know, you know. Once you've been depressed, it's the worst. It's very, very scary, and I'm so sorry, and be brave. It can get better. Singing Dancing Muscle Man says, no, when's the Bring Sally Up vid gonna drop? Your loyal subscribers are waiting. Singing Dancing Muscle Man says, to anyone dealing with or suspecting poor mental health, look into building a healthy intestinal microbiome. This has been unbelievably helpful for me. I love you sharing that. That's wonderful. Yes, that's great. I don't think I'm ever going to do a Bring Sally Up video straight up for my YouTube, but I will do a short just for you. I will record and post a short on my channel. Bring Sally Up for Singing Dancing Muscle Man. I'm going to make a note of it because I'm going to forget. Bring Sally Up for Singing Dancing Muscle Man. Shorts. I think you wanted burpees. You sick bastard. Burpees. Where are we? Mama Maya, my mom says, I'm still here and you two not fun not having hot water. I actually added the gift of hot water to my gratitude list. I bet you did. I'll call you soon, Mama. Whatever says, legend, mate, one of a kind. Stop it. Just stop it. Thank you. Ricky DB85 says, I was diagnosed with major depression and OCD. It messed my life up, but I keep battling it even though I struggle to get out of bed every day. You're a legend for that, Ricky. Don't give up. Keep fighting. Keep trying until it gets better, and it will. Very detailed window cleaner says, what's your thoughts on those probiotic waters they just came out with? I mean, I guess I don't have any thoughts other than I think probiotics can be really, really important, especially for people that struggle to eat, fermented foods or a less processed diet where their microbiome is not going to get any healthy bacteria unless they supplement. Hopefully it's great. I just would have to look into it. But I think it's a clever way of introducing probiotics. Curious. Israel says, thank you for your words, sir. Been following you since 2015. You speak the real. Keep it up. You got it. Thank you, Israel. I appreciate it. Rooting for you, like I said. Sean Sarkis says, hey, Noah, 2 years on DPDR cycle, tried everything, didn't help. Now week 2 on TRT, 200 milligrams. I know you had success with TRT. Do you think TRT will finally cure my DPDR? Hey, Sean, I think TRT very much has the opportunity to help your DPDR once you get it dialed in, as far as how much you need, how often you take it, how your body responds to it, how it impacts your blood work, your side effects, your symptom relief. I think TRT is going to give you stable ground, and then it'll either eliminate your DPDR or lessen it, I think one or the other. And at the very least, though, it's going to give you a chance to kind of address other things that might be causing or influencing or exacerbating your DPDR, if that makes sense. So good for you. Be patient. They started me on 200 as well. I tend to think that's a bit much, but everyone's different. So wait and see how you respond. Stay current with your doctor. Cope as best you can. Be mindful that your body's going to change. It's like going through puberty. You're going to have some changes. You're going to be more hungry potentially. You're going to sleep different. You might gain some weight. You might lose some weight. You're certainly going to build some muscle. If you were low like me, my body was just so low that taking any TRT, boom, muscle came back. So just be mindful. Things are going to change. You're going to do great. The True Force says, what are your thoughts on kidney stones? God, avoid them at all costs. Drink lots of water. Address any issues that are causing them. Those things are scary and they suck. General Stealth says, I came off TRT because I couldn't get dialed in, but I also ran out of funds and it was very expensive. I'm seeing an endocrinologist in February, so fingers crossed I can get some answers. Okay, got it. My experience with endocrinologists are that they are, ironically, even though they are hormone doctors, they can be very stingy about prescribing TRT. But anyway, you're looking into it. I also wonder what type of administration you were taking that would lead to such expensive TRT. Mine's very cheap, but I do injectable and I do it at home. Anyway, keep digging. Yeah. Vampire Gaming, bro, I want to do a work, but my mind repetitive asks, what will you do by doing this work? Why will you do this? Thoughts coming for almost everything. Any cure? I don't know about a cure, but I think I understand what you're saying. And I'm just a big believer of doing anyway, of doing whatever you're willing to do anyway, regardless of what you think, if deep down you believe it's a good thing. So, for example, like exercising, if you know it's a good thing, but your brain's playing tricks on you, make the barrier of entry for that exercise so low that you know you'll do it. Walk out the door for 2 minutes, walk back, boom, you went for a walk. If it's getting some personal work done or reading a book or, I don't know, anything that you'd like to do and you're struggling to follow through with, make it small, make it attainable, try it and go from there. Best of luck. I hate when the brain plays tricks on you. Thrasher says, hey, if I get my bloods taken, how do I know if my T is too low? I don't trust UK doctors. They are hesitant to give it out. So I want to know what kind of numbers or signs would suggest it would help. Look, I would look this up online. There's a lot of really good information out there. I would buy the book HRT, the HRT Bible, but everyone's different. The free testosterone is the most important. But for total, I think a pretty clear indicators. If you're under 300 or 400, depending on your age, that's kind of a red flag. But if you're total, I mean, depending on your range, like my range for total, or excuse me, free testosterone is like the peak of it is 40 and I'm near the top. If that's down in the bottom quarter, that's probably a problem. But just do some research. There's tons of good info online. I totally get wanting to take some control over that though. James MC says, great educational channel, mate. Thank you, sir. I share what I know, however much or little that is. I do appreciate it, though. General Stell says, by the way, much appreciate your kind responses to my messages. Always a pleasure to watch your content. I've been here with you since, whoa, that's wild. You've been here since 2011. Lord, that's cool. And you're welcome. It's the least I can do is just try to be a nice fucking person. That's the least I can do. Alicia says, Noah, my doctor wants me back on the med, but I'm so scared. I was on Zoloft and amitriptyline, 50 milligrams for 7 months, and he tapered me off for 1 month and 2 weeks. Would you say that was too fast? I don't know if it was too fast. I really don't know, but I'm sorry you're scared, and I can only imagine your despair. Just be brave, and I would just trust leadership. And if you don't trust leadership, find more leadership to co-sign other leadership, if that makes sense. But just find people you trust and trust that they know they can help make these big decisions for you until you feel more stable. Ricky says, thanks for talking to me, Noah. I think your channel is awesome. You helped me during my breakdown in 2017, and that I am forever grateful. So thank you. You're welcome. It means a lot to me. General Stealth says the reason for the expense was all the administrative costs. A 15-minute call with the doctor was costing $300 a pop. Meanwhile, my hormones were all over the place. The inclusion of estrogen. Oh man, they put you on AIs too. That sucks. Okay, I get it now. The True Force says, what was your experience like with benzos? It's been forever. My experience with benzodiazepines, they were useful as a band-aid for acute anxiety, but they were overall kind of damning for me because I would abuse them and use them to deal with alcohol detox and things like that. When I was using them appropriately, though, as needed, very rarely, I really found a lot of comfort knowing they were there. I think that the fact that I had them on me, low dose, was very comforting. That said, they are so addictive and withdrawals from them are horrible. And I think there's something that should be approached and used with extreme caution. Okay, I'm out of here. I'm ready. I'm ready to go ahead and call it. I want to say thank you to everyone who has spent the last, well, however long you've been here. Some of you for a long time. Thank you guys for being here and spending time with me. It really, really means a lot. And I hope that you guys have your best possible day. I appreciate you. And we'll see you guys in the next stream or the next video. And if I never see you again, take care of yourself. And if you're feeling good, that's awesome. And if you're struggling, then get support and be brave. And thank you. I'll see you guys later.